Milton, M-I-L-T-O-N.
And your birth date?
My birth date is August 25, the year 1921.
All right. And then you served in World War II, and then what branch of service was it?
Okay, but it's in the Army of the United States. Now that there is a distinction between the U.S. Army, it's the same Army, but for emergency, during the emergency World War II years, those people who were drafted and mobilized and so forth, the official title on the discharge paper is Army of the United States. See, otherwise, okay, go ahead.
And then what was your highest rank achieved?
Okay, technician 4th grade. I'll repeat, technician 4th grade.
All right, thank you. And then, yeah, all right, I think that's all I needed.
That's all you need?
Yeah, so I'll read off that stuff at the very beginning of the interview, and then we'll get right into it, and you can talk about your background, and then, like, your family and stuff, and then move into how you got into the military and all that, and then talk about your years in the military, and then how you got out, and kind of how it affected you. So,
okay.
then that should be it.
So I can follow the guidelines of the printout that your mother sent me.
Right, and I'll ask you questions if I need to.
Okay.
And then talk as much as you want, because this is at minimum going to be half an hour. So.
Okay. Well, are we ready to go forward?
I'm ready. Is the camera and everything ready over there?
Everything ready? The camera okay?
Okay.
Okay, fine. The technicians here say everything is great to go on. Okay.
So he's going to start. Right?
All right, so should I start?
Yes, please do.
All right, so we are here with Milton Popp, who was born on August 25th, 1921. He served in World War II in the Army of the United States. His highest rank achieved was technician, 4th grade. It is August 12th, 2011. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. And my name is Bradley Newman. I'll be conducting the interview. And Milton Popp is my grandfather. And this interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. So, you want to start and talk about where you were born and growing up?
Yes. I was born about 100 miles southeast of the big city of St. Louis. I was born out in a country town called Perryville, Missouri, which was the county seat of Perry County. My mother and father moved to St. Louis when I was a baby, so I had to move with them, obviously. And let me first say, before we leave Perryville, Missouri, I came across my baptismal certificate not too long ago, and it is in the German language. What I'm saying is that many people spoke German in that Perry County environment. And the church services were in German in that time, not anymore, of course. Okay. So we moved to St. Louis, and I grew up in St. Louis. I went through grade school in a church school, and a high school, a city, graduated, and then went to Southeast Missouri State Teachers College. Started there, but World War II changed the plans.
And then, what about your parents, and what did they do?
Yeah, my dad and mom, they have, of course, a German background, and their education in Perry County, Missouri, was in the German language. And so I I naturally learned a little German, but I have also forgotten it by virtue of the fact that I never used it. My dad was a building superintendent of the Lutheran High School North, which was a large high school establishment, and they had a large building, and my dad took care of the building. My mother, her employment, yes, her employment was a housewife, a mother. You know, she did not earn a salary out in the commercial world, but she earned her more than her bread and butter as a loving, caring mother and housekeeper. So,
did you have any siblings?
yes, I have one sister, a younger sister, whom I, when I was mobilized into the Army, I hardly ever got to see her again, except for visits to St. Louis, because I did not move back when I was discharged from the Army. I did not move back to St. Louis, to my mother and father's home, where my sister was still living before she married. But mother and dad are no longer on this earth. They're with the Lord by virtue of their love for Christ. So that's about it regarding my family that I can think of. I have a son. We have a son who is a Vietnam veteran. He served two tours in the Vietnam area in the Air Force. He was with the bombardiers with the bomb squadrons, and so their base was in Thailand, with the B-52s.
Okay. So how did you enter the service? Did you get drafted or did you enlist?
Well, that's a good question. The story goes like this. As a high school student, I would guess I was around age 18, I watched the Independence Day Parade. I think it was the year 1938. The Independence Day Parade, the 4th of July downtown in St. Louis, has a large parade, and this Army unit was marching in the parade, a whole regiment. And I learned that it was the 130th Infantry Regiment, Missouri National Guard of St. Louis. The whole regiment almost was comprised of volunteers from St. Louis, and it was led by the regimental band up front, see? And of course I was in the high school band and studying music and on the trumpet, and I was quite impressed by the marching spirit, of the regiment led by the music of the band. And so lo and behold, I went down sometime later down to the National Guard Armory in St. Louis and talked to the band leader. And lo and behold, he, after interviewing me, and I said I'd like to join, but I was underage. and somehow then he agreed to let me sit in and play, and along the line enlisted me, see, into the Missouri National Guard. I think you had to be 18 as the eligible age to enlist, but I enlisted when I was 17, I think, and did I lie for my age? I don't know. I hope not. I don't remember that time. But anyway, they let me in. And so now, how do I get into the Army? Okay, and I really liked the National Guard meetings with the band. Were once a week down in the Armory. you know, the Army was a building where all National Guard units in the United States, they had their own armories, see, would meet, and we would play and have marching band assignments and so forth. But then, and I liked that paycheck. I got $1 for every meeting. So, and every 3 months I'd get a check from the U.S. government for $12. See? And that was for my participation in the Missouri National Guard, and this was the band. But then I graduated from high school, and as I said earlier, I went to Missouri State Teachers College, but I didn't get to stay long because the President of the United States mobilized all the National Guard units in the United States for 1 year active duty. That means then the Missouri National Guard became a part of the U.S. Army. You understand? See? So the date for mobilization was on December the 23rd, 1940. And I had enrolled in school in September, and so December came around quickly, so I had to decide whether I was going to mobilize with the National Guard and do my 1 year military training and then be discharged and come back and continue in the school, you know, get my degree. But since I had enlisted underage, I was told by the commanding people there of the National Guard that if I did not mobilize, that'd be okay. They would not look for me and arrest me, you know, for desertion, you know, because I was underage. But I talked to Mom and Dad, you know, that's your mother's grandfather and grandmother, you know. And I said, I want to go on active duty for a year and get my year training over. The President of the United States said, you know, train 1 year and the National Guard units would come back to their home city and return as National Guard. Well, my mother would have said no. She never agreed to me joining the Guard to begin with, you know. But my dad said yes. I could mobilize, and so I followed my dad's advice, and my mother was happy too. But anyway, this is how then I got into the Army. And we were part of the U.S. Army.
Were you scared at all, or how did you feel about it?
Well, I was a little excited about it and interested. Why? I knew I'd be spending a year training, and I'd meet my 1 year training obligation by training with people I knew at home. You see, then remember, this is the St. Louis, Missouri National Guard. These are all people from St. Louis, and I'd known them in the band. I'd known them from training with them. One evening a week, you know, and I would not be faced with strangers, you know, and so forth, and I would not have to be concerned about where I would be sent and so forth, because I'd be with this unit, which was a hometown unit. And that took away a lot of anxiety, you understand?
That's good.
And gave me a feeling of confidence. See? And so you asked about what my feelings were. So I felt comfortable about it, really. And that's weird because that can be a horrific change for a lot of people who were drafted, you know. But in my case, I was fortunate that I always was with a home